And he said, love is one of the few things in life that grows when you share it.
Usually you become only successful by making others successful.
I like that.
Mentorship is really important, and if I really love to inspire people. To me, the relationship in between technology and art goes hand in hand. He jumped out of the stage and there was fireworks behind him, and he stood there for like maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know, not moving. That's how he opened the concert. People went crazy. He was a visionary in the literal sense of the word. You know, this is what is great art. If the spirit of the time and the technological evolution are reflected within a work, then it's great art. And I encourage everyone to just pursue their dreams. How do you get there? Just go.
So welcome at the second episode of the Firestarters Podcast. Tonight I have a really interesting and fun guest who decided to come on the platform. I present to you Yannick Thiry. Yannick, welcome to the podcast studio. How do I know Yannick? Actually, we've met at a festival this summer, only about a month ago. The way that we met was quite random. I was just taking some pictures with my old school camera. It's an analog camera, and I was I guess really into it, and Yannick noticed, and I think he started talking to me. I don't know what he said exactly. Do you remember what you said when we first met? When I was taking
I think
pictures?
I approached you saying, "Well, that's a special camera. What made you think this was the right environment to bring such a sensitive thing or something like that?" I thought it was very special to see a camera obscura.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it. And when you do the zoom in, you got this whole like little accordion thing.
Yes.
It looks. I can imagine for someone who doesn't. That it look. Yeah, for anyone really, that looks kind of strange. This is such an old object. It's from the 70s.
Well, it looked even older. It appeared to be older to me when I first saw you in this setting. It appealed to me. Yeah. Like, you know, to be even older because of the harmonica thing.
Right.
So, to bring something like that to a festival must make you somehow have a love for photography or something. So that's what made me connect to you.
Yeah. That's nice, man. I was really pleasantly surprised to find out that not only you, but also other people came towards me, but not because of me, but because of the camera. They were all genuinely interested. And so it also makes me happy to see that other people still find this sort of love for these old objects. But you know, the reason why I bought this camera actually kind of makes a full circle, because I wanted to buy this camera to take genuine pictures of the people that would come on my podcast. So tonight I'll be taking another picture.
You already knew at that time.
I did not know. But what I want to add to this is that you have told me a really interesting quote that I want to read out loud. So we were talking yesterday on the phone. We were preparing a little bit for this podcast, and I was asking him about his past and what he had been doing in his career. And he said, maybe we can end with this quote. And he said, love is one of the few things in life that grows when you share it. And I really like this quote. And so I thought, you know, what a great way to start a podcast. I'm gonna share something with him. And so what I did with this camera is I took a picture of him with his girlfriend. And then yesterday I sent my girlfriend to the store to print a picture and to put it in a frame.
Wow, thank you so much, man.
So this is, maybe you can show to the camera or something. This is a picture that I took of them and the moment that we met.
So much.
So we got the camera, the thing that took it, and then the actual moment that brought us together.
I love it. Well, Thank you very much. The moment was also magical.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this festival, because it's not just any festival, is it?
Space Safari.
Space Safari.
Well, yeah, I'm very connected to it somehow. I've always put a lot of enthusiasm into it, sharing actually the opportunity I have to play there. Space Safari was evolved from something called Lost Theory Records, Lost Theory Parties in the past, which I started together with a few friends from Ghent. And this evolved into a lot bigger things, which I could have never imagined somehow. And it ungrew me also somehow, you know,
it ungrew you.
Yeah, financially.
Okay.
So it outgrew me also, because I'm not involved anymore as an organizer or anything.
But you played there as
but I
a
played
DJ.
there as a resident artist.
Okay,
yeah.
And unfortunately, I had missed the show.
I didn't know.
You played on Friday, and as
Yeah,
first thing
I
you opened
opened,
the stage, right? Yeah. I was still setting up my camper.
Well, I'm very happy to be able to play there, because it's become very big, and I wish there was more festivals like this, because I miss it. It's only once a year.
Yeah, but you know, I as you're saying that, I'm thinking like, you know, we should take it a little bit back and explore your past and see, you know, what makes Yannick, because I haven't given you a proper introduction. I'm sorry about that.
It's fine.
And so I guess your list of things that you did is just, it's crazy. I cannot remember all of it. But as I understand it, you know, the way that you kind of divided things in your life is you have two sides to what you do. And one side is the DJing and the music producing in a psytrance. And then the other side is also in audio, but it's much more technical. So if I understand it right, you know, this is how you made the division. And so I'm extremely interested in both sides. So what we did now is we started talking about one of your festivals that you helped co-create, and where you still play as a resident DJ. And I want to talk about the psytrance here in Belgium, because it's it's still underground. Maybe that's, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. It's still underground. You say that it's the biggest festival of Belgium, but there aren't so many other festivals. Or am I mistaken? Because I only recently came into the scene because I got kind of not bored of techno, but like it became so hard and so aggressive, and it became underground. Like I you know, everyone is. Yeah, okay, but maybe in the psytrance festivals it's the same. Everyone's dressing the same. Like when I go to like Club Fag or something, you know, everyone has these leather outfits and the chains, and they all look the same. And okay, Club Fag is literally underground, but it doesn't feel to me like it's underground anymore. And then I discovered psytrance, and I also was at the origin of, you know, where it was born in Goa, in India, and you know, I feel different vibes around this style of music, and you know, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I know the feeling. Music touched you the first time, you know. I remember that feeling very, very well. And I think for me it was 1997. You know, I was quite young. Yeah, I had some distance to go CDs, compilation CDs that I found. And I found them in the disco bar in the Dissestraat in Leuven, which was the vinyl shop around. A lot of big DJs came there. I got the vibe musically very fast. That's why I also got into Praga Khan and Lords of Acid, because they had the similar vibe. And it was Belgian. It was one of the only Belgian artists producing this vibe internationally in movies, the Mortal Kombat game. I figured out, because of a friend, Elias, I'm still thankful for that they were from Belgium. And so I went to this concert in the Oude Markt, Marktrock.
Mm-hmm.
And
In Leuven.
in Leuven.
Yeah.
And the place was exploding.
Oh.
And it was rave music, like proper, with a little bit sometimes also with the psytrance vibe. So this sound, the Prodigy I also liked, but believe it or not, Praga Khan was playing in Tokyo and Prodigy was opening for them.
Okay.
So the headliner was Praga Khan.
Right.
Can you imagine?
But you have a special connection with Praga Khan, if I understand.
Well,
right?
yeah. So the fun thing is, Elias gave me this T-shirt he printed with the cover of a Praga Khan album, and he gave it to me for my birthday. I think it was my 15th birthday. And I was driving in Leuven on my little BMX bike, and suddenly there's a car driving next to me, opening his window, almost hitting me with the car, And he's like, "Hey!" Shouting at me, and I'm like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And I look, and it's Oliver Adams, the producer and drummer from Praga Khan, Lords of Acid, To Fabiola, the Mortal Kombat track, all this. So I knew that, and I knew he was from around. So, and he almost hit me with the car, but playing his music. And later I figured, because he told me, he recognized me because of the T-shirt I was wearing.
Right.
And so then he came to play in Leuven because they are from Tienen, which is very close. And then he saw the T-shirt again. And again at another concert.
He recognized you the whole time from the T-shirt.
Yeah, and I only went to like 2 concerts out of my own. And after he hit me with the bike, we started talking in Leuven. And I was very young, He was maybe 30 and I was 15. And he understood very quickly that I was into music. And I was not pushy because there was a lot of fans for them. And I was also a fan, but I was never pushy. I appreciated him for his craft and showmanship because we met. And he appreciated me and my interest in the musical side of it and the productional aspect of it and the showmanship side of it. He kind of took it as a mentorship and showed me everything he did, And that's what I really, really appreciate in him. So thank you, Oliver, for that, really. I love you very much.
You guys are still in contact, I imagine.
Yeah. He's somehow like a father to me, because he took me to, as a 16-year-old, I had the opportunity also from my principal from school. He would let me out because concerts were always Friday or in the weekends or Mondays. I would come in late or things like that. And he knew I was doing these kind of things. My mother used to work in music industry and TV for years already for Rick Tubak's television productions in Manhattan Studios in Leuven. I grew up there also. And because of the background and my ambition in music since a kid, the principal allowed me to go with them. So I went, Ollie took me to, you cannot imagine, I Love Techno in Flanders Expo in Ghent.
Backstage or?
Backstage, on stage, wherever I wanted, I was... we went to the Zillion,
You had a story about that, I heard.
Yeah, well, people don't believe it, but it's true, And like TMF awards shows, he would take me to ROB where they had television, or VTM studios, or at one time I was just hanging around the studios and someone came calling me, hey, your father is looking for you. I immediately knew Ollie was looking for me but people thought now he has a son. But at that time it was, he really took the mentorship at heart, and that's part of the reason why I'm here also, because mentorship is really important, and if I really love to inspire people because I know what role it can play for somebody, and I was lucky enough to have some good mentors in my life, and Ollie was definitely one of them.
I really, I'm struggling, man, on this particular subject. Like, I always wanted a mentor, and I haven't yet found one. So I am my own mentor in many ways, but in many ways, you know, the role of a mentor is the one that you cannot take yourself, right? So I'm curious as to how did the dynamic then take place? You know, is just because he saw you with your shirt and he was like, this guy, you know, this guy must be taught, or you know, like,
I think he thought like, hey, that's cool. He made his own T-shirt because he didn't recognize.
You made it yourself?
Well, I got it as a present from Elias, who printed it.
Oh, right. Okay.
And and Ollie said to himself, hey, but this is not one of our T-shirts from the merch. So he made it himself. So they appreciated the effort in making it ourselves, although it was given to me, you know, and I told the story. But that's what actually intrigued them and made him talk to me. And once talking to them, you know, Nicky, also a big part of the productions around Praga Khan and Lords of Acid, Nicky van Lierop, an amazing woman, very inspiring. And that's what attracted me also to the psytrance, you know, these people who take on the role of taking care of you and showing you the bright side of the inspiring things, you know, because life, it's physical things and it's metaphysical things, and relationships embodies exactly that. You know, it's when you put into action the love. You know, people say love is a verb also, you know. So it's when you put into action certain things that the emotional side of it becomes physical, or when the physical becomes truly emotional, you know.
Are you trying to explain manifestation?
Maybe.
Or am I understanding it wrong? I don't.
Yeah, maybe, because sometimes you wonder, who am I? You know, what is life about? What am I going to do with my life? You know, all these philosophical questions. But often when you are around the right people, you get the answer just by being around them. And not asking for it and getting those kind of answers, like, that's what is inspiration to me, you know. And that's what's love to me also, because the reason why he came to me and be intrigued about a T-shirt is exactly the same somehow as I was intrigued by you using your camera.
That's nice.
You know?
Yeah, I feel that. I do feel like maybe there is something developing in our relationship, or short relationship, that may take that kind of shape, I suppose, of mentorship, because
maybe
you have so...
I didn't mean that.
I know, but
I meant the motivation for it, you know, is the seed for it.
Yes, but vice versa. So what you did with the camera, I felt, maybe I recognize now that you explained the story with the shirt, like I recognize this. I'm like, you know, so many good things came from this meeting, because we are here now and we're talking about, you know, you wanted to come to the podcast, you wanted to be a guest. I told you that this was still quite new for me and not necessarily super easy, but you made me feel at ease, and you already tried to help me with my audio gear before we started. So I really, truly, deeply appreciate already the little things that we've talked about so far, and we haven't talked that much yet.
I am very aware of the fact that you try to do something inspirational, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So that's what brought me here, and
lovely.
There's so much to talk about, you know.
Yeah, man. What do you want to still talk about?
Do you have any questions?
I have questions, because Of course. So I'm going to pick up on certain things of your journey, and you can always fill in the gaps. But you know, something that I want to talk about is Tomorrowland, because as I understand it, the psytrance gatherings here, the psytrance scene isn't that big in Belgium, and so you are mostly invited in different countries to play. But you have been to Tomorrowland, and Tomorrowland is an organization that has decided to make this style part of their agenda. And so you, how did that happen? How did you get there all of a sudden?
Well, well, I will get to that. The psytrance scene is so subdivided in many different genres. First of all,
I just want to say in parentheses that I'm quite new to the scene.
Yeah.
If I didn't say that earlier,
Yeah.
so like feel free to let me and the rest of the people know more about this style, because the way I see it, it's één pot nat. it's for me, psytrance is one genre.
Yeah, well, in general, it could be defined as one main genre. But within the genre, if you play some extreme examples of subgenres, they sound so completely different that you will quickly understand in what subgenre they can be described if I show you the examples. Yeah. And so I feel like, so when I got to know it in 1997, I actually felt something I didn't feel in techno and in house music. The closest that I felt was when I went to listen to Marco de la Roca. Marco de la Roca. He played psytrance music, but very slow. You know, he actually played psytrance tracks, but very, very slow.
So why you just reduced the BPM?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And he was the first one to do that, and I will never forget it. It also touched me at the time. In general, I have the feeling that Belgium is stuck in the Eurotrance sound, in the retro trance, and already 20 years ago, there was like 2 or 3 styles, divisions in psytrance. The chill out, the old school sound, and the more dark sound. And then later on, there was the full-on sound, which is a bit more full-on, you know, with more full-on spectral sounds. I don't know how to differently say it, but anyways, the people who know, they know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it doesn't need words, you know.
Okay.
It's the music. The music is to speak for itself, you know. So, and the progressive sounds and all, you know, all the subdivisions. And already 20 years ago, there was few party organizations in Belgium, not just a few, but plenty. And once you get into them, you know, it goes very fast. You know each other very quickly. And one of those organizers is also one of the hosts I'm playing for at Tomorrowland, the Psy Gathering stage.
Okay.
So Michael, DJ Viraga, is the actual stage host for the Psy Gathering stage at Tomorrowland. And I played for him years back. And the funny story is, at the time, we organized a festival in Neervelp around Leuven called Eargasm, with the brothers Materman, who now do Thé Dansant.
Ah, yes. I've met them.
And me and my friends Psyborg, Psyveder, DJ Psyveder and Psyborg and me, we kind of did the psychedelic stage. Then what did I want to say? I forgot.
You were trying to make a link between my question about how you got to Tomorrowland.
Yeah, and the funny story that I was playing for Eargasm at that time, and I also took the residency thing a bit too serious, because Michael came to me asking, "Do you want to play for me? Do you want?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to play for you, but I'm also resident. I'm already resident for Eargasm." And he told me at the time, "Yeah, you're gonna regret it." But I was like, I want to, of course I want to play, but and he was not angry or anything. He was just like, "Okay, you cannot be resident for me because you're resident for Eargasm, but you will regret it."
You can only be resident once.
Yeah. So later on, I saw him running the Psy Gathering stage on Tomorrowland, and I felt bad. I regretted it, like he said. So I just left it some time, and later on, when I saw him again, we've always been friends.
Mm-hmm.
I played for him many occasions. I told him, look, do you remember? You told me, you asked me. I think it was 20 years ago, and I referred back to that moment and that I actually did regret it. And he said, well, don't worry about it. He said, if you want, you can come.
Okay.
And
And then you were there.
and then I was there. I played there.
Lovely.
Well, I was booked 3 times, but played 2 times because it was cancelled in Corona times.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if I did my research right, it was 2018 and 2022.
Could be. Yeah, could be. It's very nice, but it's different than the Psytrance experience. I have to admit, I love production value, and it's one of the things I look up to, and one of the things I'm looking for in organizing myself also.
Okay.
So, and in terms of production value and partly artistry, I think it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a big but. Yeah.
I can feel it coming. Give it to us.
Well, we should be proud as Belgians with companies like Stageco, which was developed in Werchter, Tremelo, out of the Werchter Festival, and building their own patented stage design, metal work, build stages.
Yeah.
And also used, I think, for Tomorrowland. So we have all these big Belgian companies, working with them, and it's amazing. It's a very good thing for the economy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what they do is amazing. Although I miss some authenticity. And authenticity to me is more artistic freedom sometimes, maybe. They're not telling me what to play, but...
Almost.
No, but just you feel it's very pre-produced, prefab almost, everything. And
You mean from year to year?
yeah, the stages and everything, it's all artificial. Even what you see on the main stage, I cannot imagine it not being time-coded. And that means that it's all pre-produced because the lighting and everything is synced. Even the fireworks are, everything is synced, so it's time-coded. So everything is well known in advance. And I can appreciate that for sure somehow. But let's be honest about it.
I really like that you say that because so I was in Tomorrowland this year also. I was there a couple of years ago, and my reflection is always the same one. It goes far beyond an event. The level of organization that they are in, any company should be lucky to have.
It's like Disney World.
Yeah, I don't know how Disney World functions, but it's just so well organized. Like you can just get an organization orgasm if you're into that kind of shit. If you like things that are neat and well organized, and it's so amazing. Nothing goes wrong almost. But then there is the soul and the vibe that it brings along with a huge organization.
I don't want to make the mistake to judge on each of those individual artists who bring their input on the table and their heart out.
Yes.
And let's not do that, because there's always people who will get hurt when we make these generalizations.
Can you not generalize that the larger an organization gets, the more things have to be pre-planned, as you say, and so the less things are...
Because not all of them are pre-planned. There is many of those DJs actually playing their set.
But they fit inside a sort of context.
Yeah.
The context changes the perception of of the outcome.
That's the thing. But that's prejudice.
It's not prejudice if you've been there. I'm telling you my experience. And it seemed like you were saying the same thing. Is that
or it might be assumption then, because it's not what you saw, it's what you think you saw.
Yeah, but that is perception, is it not? Everybody goes in and has their own perception, their own perspective, and they experience what they experience. And I can say what I experienced and what I thought, and then I can go to the next festival and do the same thing. And what is going to make me go back to a festival? It is exactly that. What I experienced will say, yes, this year again, or no, it's too expensive. Like, I don't. It's okay. It's okay this year, I forget what. No, I didn't forget what point I wanted to make. I wanted to, if you don't mind, I wanted to say something extra, which was actually then really one of the things that I loved about Tomorrowland is 3 years ago. Then I was counting this year. 3 years ago, I was in Tomorrowland, and we went to the Psytrance stage, and as I understand it, Psytrance started in Goa in India, and then it came first to Israel. And from Israel, it redistributed towards the rest of Europe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And there was a Israeli DJ playing, and all the Israeli people were at the stage. And these people are crazy. They are so happy. They were dancing so hard. And I was, coming from years of experience in like the underground techno scene. People are kind of like more like dancing on their own and kind of more in their head, I suppose. And then I saw this thing where people were dancing with like in India, like people always dance very open with that, with like these gestures, like and so the vibe, the energy was infectious. And that is the day that I decided that I maybe would get more into that kind of music. So thank you, Tomorrowland, for that.
That's where you discovered that.
Yes. I didn't discover it there, but it made sense all of a sudden. Like all the elements were right, and it was just after COVID, and so before that I was listening a lot to techno, and it was very, in my eyes, techno is like it's a dark thing. It's like from the underground, like it's from the underbelly. I know the way I see it now is I feel a lot of anger and frustration in techno. Even though that it can definitely take whole different shapes. It doesn't have to be that necessarily. But after COVID, what I needed and wanted was more melody, more joyful things. I wanted to experience joyful things in life. I wanted to experience more like the community vibe and not feeling apart, each dancing, standing next to each other. Maybe like even how people live in an apartment block. They all have their little apartment next to each other and they don't talk to each other. You don't know your neighbors anymore. And we just all coexist, but not co-live. And, and being separated felt so shit that I wanted to be reconnected. And that was an extra element that made me get interested into Psytrance.
Well, it's typical for the Psytrance vibe and the atmosphere in the parties, that you are drawn into the community quickly, and that you feel attracted to, talking to people easily or positioning yourself more openly compared to other environments. So it goes hand in hand, because also the type of people you will find there.
Yes, very important element.
Their aura shines, that their openness to, to this kind of conversations and so that's what attracted me as well. That's in general not the type of people you will find in Tomorrowland, but you will find some of the artists there.
How do you mean? Because that's kind of there's.
I mean, the commercial slogan for Tomorrowland is unity and things like that. But it's still a commercial slogan, and in Psytrance events, some of them are commercial too. Let's not be naive about it. because it's everywhere. Hypocrisy is everywhere. Yeah. So let's put a light on the following: the hypocrisy around peace, love, unity, and respect at psytrance parties. You know, that's what attracts people, but it's also something to be wary of, because one loses oneself very easily in what is perceived as alternative values, but could be, you know, could be perfectly alternative values, you know. But as long as the norm socially does not collide all the way, I think it's not a problem. But I see some problems within the scene, probably like similar like in every scene. I saw the previous podcast with Marco Bailey, and he mentioned also, I think he finished with that, you know, with playing and people are influenced.
Yes, I was. It's funny because I was, just finishing up the after movie, and I filmed the girl, and there was such a look of desperation, and it kind of looked like she was waiting for something that would never come. That was the feeling she gave me. It was so sad to see. I almost wanted to go talk to her and ask her how she was doing. But I also didn't really want to answer.
Mm-hmm. Well, my biggest drug is to transform. You know, I'm educated as, you know, a physical scientist somehow, and I was taught about energy, forms of energy, and conversion of energy. Audio and recording audio is all about that. Yeah? And to me, meeting people is also about that. Making music, making a good movie, it's all about conversion of energy. Conversion means to go from one form of energy and transform it into another form of energy. And it can be metaphysical through feelings, through non-verbal communication, through, you know, poetry. But poetry is already on the physical side. So it can be metaphysical things, but this can also be physical. And this is a line that really has inspired me over the years to walk and find a balance between the physical and the metaphysical, and to convert energy, you know. And I feel a different energy on a commercial festival than on a psytrance festival. I feel it in the music. I feel it in the people. And it's not a bad thing. It's sometimes the nuance is very small because we're humans after all. So I don't want to diversify to divide, you know.
No, I know, but ultimately feelings is a sort of radar we are gifted with, you know, and you pick up on things like, why do they, when you meet someone, how do you instantly know yes or no, I want to, you know, continue a relationship with this person? Like, you're picking up on stuff, your radar is picking up on stuff subconsciously, and it's telling you yes or no. And same goes with your feeling about a store that you enter, or a festival that you enter, or a person that you meet, or an instrument that you start to play, you know, whatever it is that you pick up, you know, quite fastly. And, you know, some people call it the gut feeling, as if your gut is your second brain. So if you're telling me that you feel that, then at least for you, it's always true.
It's so strange to say, because one of my best experiences ever on a festival was Tomorrowland, of course. It's very strange. But at the same time, Yaga Festival in Lithuania, very small, cozy, in the nature, very hippie-like festival, very alternative. It was also maybe even better than Tomorrowland. because it was so extremely different. But in terms of production value and yeah, I'm very honored to have had a chance to play there. So thank you, Michael, for that. Yeah.
Awesome, amazing. So we talked a lot about music, and we talked a lot about festivals, your experience as a DJ. I personally, I would love to just continue talking about this, but there's a whole different side to you that I also want to talk about. So is there something you would still want to share about that part of you, this music production, or do you want to make the switch to the other part, what makes you, which is the more technical part, the sound engineering part? There's so much on my list here on my iPad to still talk about. So if you still want to say something.
Yeah, I want, because you were going there in the beginning, and I want to add one more thing. There is a big we have to distinguish between the artistical Yannick and the technical Yannick. Even in my artistical musical projects, my own musical projects, I achieve a certain technical ability, or I try to, I pursue a certain technical ability.
Quality control.
Yeah, but not just that. Also, sometimes you can ask yourself, what is art? To some people, it's, when I feel something about it, it's art. Well, to me, it's more than that. To me, art is something that is not only subjectively good, but also objectively good,
Can you give an example?
Well, like Mozart. If I ask you, well, is it art or not?
Mm-hmm.
And you could say, well, I don't like Mozart, but you could not say it's not art.
Why not?
Because for me, it's the combination of emotional storytelling or expression, like poetry, or that's one aspect. But the second, and maybe the most important one to me personally, is the technical side, To me, is very important. I don't know why, but when I was in art school, I always collided with old teachers about this point, actually. I was very technical. I brought the first digital cameras into the audiovisual department. Editing was done analogically. And I took the technological evolution at heart, went with it, and tried to do the best I could, trying to be advanced,
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you could, if you focus on the shape, you might lose content, valuable content.
The shape?
Well, the exterior versus interior.
Right.
So both sides are very important, but I always had to prove extra my point because I was attaching so much value to the technical side in school already. They made it hard on me extra content-wise. So storytelling is everything in good music and emotion. But if it's not well captured or not well played or, all these things, that's a shame,
But I wait, so I'm not sure if I agree completely, because storytelling is actually, if you do it right, the medium becomes less important. So if you're talking about storytelling, then it's about the message you're trying to convey, and it's not about how good you are in the technical aspect. But if you master storytelling and the technical aspect, you become a master.
It goes hand in hand. You cannot do the one without the other, In my opinion, this is art, and not just, I wrote it because I wrote it, it's my feelings, It should be definitely something like craftsmanship, experience, and intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Intuition is only possible if you have the knowledge and the
Craftsmanship?
craftsmanship. Yeah. Well, you can do some things intuitively and not make art. That's called epiphany, you know. But it has to be said that that most of the inventions in the world are just epiphany. Accidents, happy accidents.
But epiphany, I feel like you have to explain, because epiphany kind of also signifies that you have a thought which you have been thinking about for a while. And so you're chewing and chewing on these thoughts, or one or more thoughts. And then the epiphany is the sudden realization that those thoughts, maybe there is a certain aspect of it that is a problem, and you're trying to resolve it. The epiphany is the resolvement of these thoughts.
Of these thoughts, but not always. Sometimes the epiphany can even be that it's next to where you were looking. It's not where you were looking. It's not even related to where you were looking sometimes. And you have to be open for that.
Yes, I discovered this also, that, I mean, doesn't life always do that? Like, it always, if you really, really try to achieve something, most of the time, if you really put all your energy into it, like from what I hear from other people, is that it always happens, but always in the most unexpected way. So is that what you define as an epiphany?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to allow epiphany. At the same time, the way you described it is also true. And I could compare it a bit more to be creative artistically, to be expressive, let's say. This comes from Karel Appel, Cobra movement. He said, the inspiration only comes through the work itself. So when you start with an empty canvas and a paintbrush with some paint, you just start. Don't think about, what am I gonna paint?
I feel you on that one.
Because the inspiration comes within the work itself.
Yes.
And there's many people, sometimes people come to me and, I wish I could make music because I have this melody in my mind. And, well, okay. But the true inspiration is only, there when you express it.
It's so interesting that you say that, because when I was younger, I went to art school as well, Académie Royale des Beaux-Arts, also in Brussels. You said Brussels, right? You studied in Brussels. And anyways, I had this little notebook, and I was always making these drawings, and I was always going to be the greatest artist. But I didn't know what I was going to do, and how was I going to become the great artist? And there's always this kind of fear of the empty page, the white page. And so what I would do is I would just go and put like a gribouillis in French, a little scribble on the page, and then I'd be like, And then I would try to see something into it, and I wouldn't see something, so I would just, draw some other shit. And the style was ugly, like kind of like how I called it. Let's say it was just nothing. It was shit. And then I would continue making shit until I saw something, and then I would try to transform it, and then in this process of transformation, I would get a new idea,
exactly,
and then a new idea, and sometimes I would even put the page away, and then I had the idea that I needed to start on the new page, but I would never let the empty page scare me off. I would, use this kind of weird strategy of ugly drawings, because I wouldn't let it stop me.
It's exactly what I was trying to say, and you could also say it like, sometimes the importance of small steps is more significant than taking big, large steps. If you want to do a job and you don't know where to start, just subdivide it into small chunks.
Have you ever read the book Atomic Habits?
No.
It's a very interesting book who simply says that in a totally non-artistic way, but it just says like, change something small every single day and then compound over time, and then you get big results. For example, if you start running, you don't do any sports, you say, I want to do sports. You start running and you run the first day 10 seconds. It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the next day you run 15 seconds and you just compound. But where are you after 30 years? You're running like triple marathons. I don't know if I did the math right, but you see where I'm getting at. Atomic Habits is talking about that, and I feel that we all could use a little bit of that knowledge, because when we think we need to change something in our lives, we often think we need to make a big change and we need to make big commitments. And in some cases that's true, but in a lot of cases it can also be the strategy can be to do small steps at a time.
Yes, and people who are ambitious and who want to reach a certain goal or have an idea of their dreams and how to achieve them, well, they could also think of it like divided into small chunks, which could be projects, clients, jobs. For myself, this is how I look at every single step in my life. I couldn't have reached what I've reached today if I would say in the past to myself, I'm going to do this in one movement. It would have never happened. It's all these little steps that made me get where I am now. And I always do that, to myself. I challenge myself all the time, taking projects, which usually things that I've not done before.
A challenge.
Yeah, I always want some sort of a challenge. Yeah. And this is what allows you to grow also.
Starting this podcast is exactly that. It's the thing that I actually wanted to do the least, because I don't feel really comfortable talking in front of a big group of people, but I decided to look the fear in the eyes, and instantly it's as if as if life throws these wonderful things back at you. And it's just like a double feeling, like you take on a challenge that you really think is going to be extremely difficult because you are afraid of X and Y. And then in the end, when you do it, the reward is twice as big. It comes back the satisfaction is much higher than one would expect. At least that's my experience.
Sorry, I was a bit distracted. The cat is trying to catch something.
Yes, we always have some amazing entertainment with our three cats.
But I have something to hook into you, what you just said, because you said something about getting comfortable. The moment you get comfortable, you're doing something wrong.
Yes, exactly. That I agree with that, but I think it requires a certain mindset. Something that I actually really want to talk about in this podcast. Also, find it really important. I call it the winner's mindset, but maybe that's not the right way to define it. But I'll give an example. So I used to be someone who played the victim's role all the time. It's always the fault of someone else. It's your fault. It's fault. No, it was never my fault, and always the victim. And it's kind of a way of living in the comfort zone. And once you start taking responsibility for everything that happens in your own life, you start to see the world differently, and you start to act and talk differently. And this has been a huge lesson in my life. Getting outside of my comfort zone meant taking responsibility and for my actions. And ultimately shit is going to happen to you in your life. And really the only choice you have is how you think about it. So mindset. I call it winner's mentality. Maybe you have a better word for it, because we're not all winners and losers, but we can lose if we are doing something in our lives that is not up to the level that you set for yourself. If you know in your hearts of hearts you shouldn't be doing something, then that is what you shouldn't be doing.
True. Follow your gut feeling.
Yes.
And some people put goals on them, or unrealistic goals in front of themselves.
I do that too.
Yeah, but I don't do that. I only put realistic goals in front of myself.
Okay.
Which are a challenge to me, but not unrealistic to reach. So
Interesting, because for example, there's this saying like, shoot for the moon and you'll reach the stars. So like always aim higher.
yeah, that's it.
But that's still,
exactly it.
I think there is a duality in there that there is some parts of it that seem unreachable and unrealistic. But when I go for these goals, I already know that ahead of time, that if I reach, if I want to be a billionaire, maybe the chance is quite realistic that I'll be earning $100,000 per year, euros. Don't know why I said dollars, but it's like if you set the goal really high, then you change your mindset and you really start thinking in function of reaching that goal. And if you don't reach it, you have to have the humility to accept failure. And if you know ahead of time that it's possible you don't reach it, but that's okay, and you'll do it anyway, then that's fine. So that's why I ask you, you say you set realistic goals for yourself. Like I know
You have to put in the work.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you do. I think that's something that you have done because you've done so much work. Right?
Well, the thing is, some people would call it to put your money where your mouth is. Some people would call it, I don't know, to prove yourself first, or to show what you can do, or things like that. It's like, it's the same with inspiration. Like I said, that inspiration comes through the work. Same for credibility, credibility as well, in the work. People, the more I work with people and for people, certainly in creative jobs, they tend to come back because of the personal creative touch and approach. And at the same time, the objective side, the technical side, which in my work, I have a certain technical workflow, a philosophy. There's always choices to make and compromises to make.
Yes.
I think it's all about finding a right balance sometimes.
Yes, that's beautifully said. And I'm really enjoying this conversation a lot. I didn't know we would take it there, but we talked about creativity, inspiration, so many great things.
Sometimes the line between creative work and technical work is very thin.
I agree with you.
And sometimes it's very obvious, and I have to deal with both types of work. It's always...
Is it something that in your world, like in the audio world, is more so than in other worlds or in other lines of business, I guess, that you are more confronted with this thin line between the artistic and creative? Maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking out loud. Maybe it's because audio is abstract.
I can give you a good answer. I think all creatives, so in the industry of art, let's say, if we should call it an industry, it's a terrible thing to say, huh? But it is, We all, if we are all artists who like to be taken serious, also want to do only this art most of the times and survive from it, or live from it. It's a topic on its own. Let's not go there. But every creative is struggling with that survival aspect. And therefore, it automatically is related to the question, where is it an artistical job and when does it becomes a technical or just an executional thing? Or
yes, yes.
Customers' will is always law. In the end,
in a capitalistic society, it is, but then you create relationships, right, where you can blur these lines a little.
And
bit.
in audio, and in
So interesting.
So look, even in other art forms, you could easily say, okay, I'm gonna do something for a commercial purpose without selling my soul, or having the feeling that I'm selling my soul to the devil. If you're the Beatles and you didn't want to be in a commercial with your Beatles music, I would understand that. Yeah. Because it's not suitable for the product, But if you're an artist and you can adapt and move your mind and feelings and artistry into the mind of a director, for example, for a movie, that's also a very creative role.
Agreed.
It's like an actor moving into the mind of the character. You could look at it like that. It's like a alter ego sometimes, but
Yeah, art can take place in different shapes and forms. Yeah. That's also artistic in its own.
of course.
So
So
art is not limited to the physical thing that you're making,
sure,
but
yeah.
also to the approach and to ultimately, that's what I wanted
The
to tell you.
ability to express.
Yes, but I wanted to tell you that earlier because I make a distinction between a creator and an artist. And for me, a creator is someone who can be just as creative or even more creative than an artist. But what an artist has in mind is the target audience. Who is he making the art for? And what does he want to communicate? An artist is communicating something. And even though that we have moved, in the 1900s with abstract art, we've moved there, So it's, what do I want to say with this? I lost my train of thoughts. So wait. So I was explaining the difference between the creator and the artist, and you want to communicate a message, and now abstract art is a thing, but we are still communicating, and so a lot of people will look at a Picasso or whatever and be like, what is these shapes? It makes no sense. And you're probably not the person he's talking to then. Because if you understand Picasso, he is saying something very important.
It takes like-minded minds to
Yes, I think so.
recognize.
Or maybe, yeah, okay, I think you're right, but context plays a big part. So if you are not like-minded, but you are an art historian, you must at least have some understanding of what's happening, because you understand evolution of art from, going from this realism into something completely abstract. And, it's a reflection of times and society and context.
Mm-hmm.
So this is with going back to clients, who ask for audio mix or whatever, how the context in which you place yourself so you have to think in the same direction as the person you're creating something for. But you can also, I think at the same time, you're testing what he knows or his context. And what I sometimes do is I kind of try in a subtle way to educate when I feel it's necessary, so I can get my point across. Mm-hmm. And that's how I don't lose my soul on certain projects.
True. But sometimes in the job I do, it's so distinguished that sometimes I don't get to do creative things, and I just need to objectively make it sound good. And yeah.
But that's where the difference comes between the two sides of you, right? You have your artistic side, there you can go full on crazy, do whatever the fuck you want. And then you have this other side, which is linked to your creative side, because I think you and I are doing something similar. Is like, for example, I also consider myself as an artist, but I have chosen in which way I want to function as a sort of a commercial entity, and which way I want to function as a creative entity. And those things, I don't mix them anymore. I of course, no, I'm wrong. I do mix them, but I know I am consciously placing them in a different box, and jungling, between the two. I feel like perhaps you're doing the same thing. And with this, unless you have something else to add, I want to move towards your more technical side, because you have done so many things. And can you, for the listener, give us like a 2-3 minutes feedback on your journey in these jobs that are more, specifically for clients, and maybe a little bit less creative and a little bit more technical? Like, what have you been doing? What have you been up to?
In general, my job is or has been in audio post-production, which means editing, mixing for television, advertising, radio, movies, things like that. Yeah, I've worked in a couple of production houses as an audio engineer. I've worked for national TV productions, some known programs in Belgium.
Can you name a few?
Name a few. I was working on SOS Speed, Goedele Leakes, Helmut Lotti, Channel Zero, Universal commercials for radio, and I was like edits for Nelly Furtado, Justin Timberlake. So not original music mixes, but more like the advertising edits and things like that.
Okay. Did you not also do something for Universal Studios, or did I have a mistake?
Yeah, I've done. That's the things I've done for them.
Right.
Advertising
Okay.
edits.
Yeah.
Well, numerous clients actually, like University of Leuven, Katholiek Onderwijs Vlaanderen. Many different types of recording jobs, communication, music recording, for documentaries.
Is this something that you're doing as a freelancer for different for these actual clients, or do you work through a different agency, or how do you?
Well, as I was 15 years old, my mother worked for this production company in Manhattan Studios in Leuven, and above the Manhattan Studios, I got to know Chris de Grote, who was married to Goedele Leakes' sister.
Okay.
And Goedele Leakes was ex-Miss Belgium.
Okay.
So they had a production company, the first Avid editing suite in Belgium. So Avid is...
For the ones who don't know, can you explain?
Yeah, Avid is the major video editing hardware platform from the past and still is.
You mean hardware or software?
It was hardware. Eh?
So can you explain? Because I'm confused.
Yeah, now it's software, but in the past it used to be hardware. And when I was 15, I was, working for them as a student. That's how I also got into video editing and composing and things like that. And I was logging all the tapes that came from the talk shows from Goedele Leakes and SOS Speed and Jeroen Meus and Panorama and, all these VRT shows. And there was multicam recordings. So the tapes came with 20 tapes per hour, almost.
A tape, was it like a roll with film, or like, do we imagine like a VHS tape, or what are we seeing here?
Yeah, that was digital Betacam tape at that time. I'm talking about digitizing everything in online offline. So online offline resolution means that we would get the digital tapes. I would have to put it into the system, then play it, so it gets captured by the computer, basically, in low resolution on time code. And then we would edit in low resolution, and then later
on the computer.
Yeah, and still good resolution, workable, but still the data size, the disk sizes were not the same as today.
For the ones who are doing video, it's like a proxy, I imagine.
Well, yeah,
it's a low resolution file that links to the original.
Exactly. Yeah, and later on, when you had the edit, you had to reconform or master down, export down the edit. So you had to online the offline resolution. Yeah, so you would have to put the original tape in for exactly this time needed. So it could capture this in high resolution. Then, edit, cut to the next tape. You would put in the next tape. So it's only to master it, And then once the edit is online, full resolution, you would actually dump master. So you would dump the master on the tape, which is the master tape. And this is all the kind of things that I did when I was 15, 16 years old.
But just for clarification, so the on and offline is not on the web?
No, it's on the server locally.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just clarification for the non-technical people out there.
That was the first Avid studio in Belgium, basically.
And really? Okay.
Yeah. And I got to know all the procedures, the patching, the logging, the online, offline procedure, data management, metadata, adding in the logging procedure, and then editing. And of course, getting to know all the procedures gave me an insight in the purpose for them also.
Okay.
So why would you be logging tapes if you're running 7 or 8 cameras? It's important to know what is what, and content-wise, it's also interesting to log, so to edit fluently or for the archive later on. Yeah, that's all the things I've learned when I was 15, 16.
Interesting. And so, if I understand it right, you were then in an audio visual production environment, and then at some point you decided to focus more on audio. How did that happen?
Well, it was already clear from the beginning that audio was the focus point for me.
Okay.
When I was 9, I went to Michael Jackson concert, the 22nd of July 1992 in Werchter.
You remember the date specifically?
Yeah. And the second time I went was 30th of August 1997 in Ostend.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly when Lady Diana died. And then it was postponed for a week. And we went back, me and my mother. And when I was 9, 1992, it made such a big impression that I decided to go into the audiovisual side. And my father, he had always synthesizers at home. So that's quickly one of the things that hooked me.
Yeah. You were inspired. You were completely motivated by audio.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something because, of course, we've been talking before this podcast, and there is a lot to say about Michael Jackson because it's really a huge passion of yours. And you told me about the school where you actually went to study audio engineering, SAE in Brussels. They actually invited you back as a gastdocent. I don't know how to say this in English.
Guest lecturer.
Yeah, guest lecturer. Thank you for correcting me in English. It's my first language. But you didn't only come back in that sense, but you started also a new group, Music First, or something. I forget what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And as I understand it, the producers or the audio engineers from Michael Jackson's team actually came to one of your, shall I call it a lesson or teaching? Or
let me explain. So as a big Michael Jackson fan, I have some international friends with the same interest, being Michael Jackson. And they didn't have any sound engineering background, but just the connection we had was Michael. And it's people from France who I went to visit in Michael Jackson conventions. And one of them had the idea to start Music First, according the name of the slogan, which is Bruce Swedien slogan. And Bruce Swedien is the sound engineer who worked on the Thriller album and the Bad album. And this engineer is always asked, what is your secret? What is your... And he always replies, music first. So
I like that.
One of the fans in France had the idea, since Michael's passing and meeting me as a sound engineer, he was like, hey, why not? Let's try to get stories, because there was books also written from Bruce about the recording procedure. He wanted to bring this into a sort of workshop or event, a live event. And in the end, it was a team of 5 people. And we've had like 5-6 events under Music First. And it was all events with top engineers speaking about their recording process.
Super interesting.
And the goal was to preserve the legacy of some of the top producers by having them talk and explain. And then we organized a few sessions in SAE Institute and Abbey Road Institute in Paris, which is 2 of the biggest and the best known audio recording schools in the world. I was privileged to host it there.
Amazing.
Thanks to the amazing people of the school there.
You must have left an impression there somehow.
Well, it's the teamwork,
Okay.
For sure, it's the teamwork. And it's not my honor, it's the honor of the engineers who came to speak also, because they were the honorary guest and what people came to hear.
But you just had the power of kind of influencing the choice of making that team.
It was only Michael who had that influence.
Okay.
You know, the love for Michael is so big, and it also connects people. You know, certainly in the audio world. Yeah, the love for the craft of Quincy, Michael, and certainly Bruce Swedien is very big. Yeah, Bruce has been a great godfather of the Music First organization. You know, and Bea, his wife. Bruce passed away a few years ago, but yeah, the legacy they left is unbelievable, and much to learn from that, because if you learn about acoustics and recording, and I think Bruce Swedien is not to overlook.
Okay, I'll definitely check him.
Yeah.
I really enjoy your enthusiasm for Michael Jackson a lot, and you have coupled something else to Michael Jackson and his performances, and that is magic. You were telling me about the shows, also again, like Tomorrowland, the production value of the shows. You know, I was asking, like, he's doing everything himself, and like please, and tell us more about this, because you're, you know,
I know where you're going to, and I will tell you. So, I was there 9 years old, standing there with my mother. And I was blown away, and not just because of the music, but also because of the light. The stage was full of light. He jumped out of the stage, and there was fireworks behind him. And he stood there for like maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know, not moving. That's how he opened the concert. People went crazy. Who else could do that? You know, stand there for like 5 minutes, not moving, and make people go crazy. So, yeah, just the showmanship, the tension building audio visually in the most broad sense of the word, you know, the dance, not just the dance, but the choreography, you know, the scenography, at that time, now it's a discipline, well described scenography, but at that time, you know, to have the setting, the lasers, the stages move, the costumes, you know, fashion, everything. He was a total master of deceit also. But mostly, he was magical, you know. And
why? What makes it magical?
Well, if you could have people jaw drop, you know, because you do things that are unexpected. Mm-hmm. And you do things that are never done before. He was a visionary in the literal sense of the word. He was the first to envision and combine storytelling with a music video. The first one to ever think of, hey, why not instead of having our band play and record them for the clip, why not have a story being told, you know? And
so you're saying he's the beginning of music videos?
Of course he is. He called it short movies. He didn't call it video clips because he wanted to tell a story and not just play a track.
For music, the definition of a music video in the day, at least then, I don't know now what the definition is, but then people understood music video not as a storytelling thing.
True.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Thriller was the first short movie video clip ever. And by the way, it was the best 1993 and 1983, sorry, my birth year. And it was the best sold VHS cassette ever, still is to the day. The making of Michael Jackson's Thriller is the best sold VHS cassette. The album is the best sold vinyl and CD to this day. So if you ask me, what is your passion, you know, also related to in music, and it's also the relation in between technology and art. That's what interests me a lot. I have a big cinema projector at home.
Me too.
Like a really big one, you know. It appeals to me because it's a piece of history and, you know, And like you have your camera, and I have plenty of those collectible things which are valuable to me, because to me the relationship in between technology and art goes hand in hand. It's a reflection of the spirit of the mind, but also of the time we live in, you know, and that's our heritage. And we should preserve that. And it's reflected in great art. You know, this is what is great art. If the spirit of the time and the technological evolution are reflected within a work, then it's great art. Yeah. So Michael and many others as well, but Michael stood out for me in a humanitarian level as well. And the multidisciplinarity of his art, his craftsmanship, you know, he helped so many artists become the artist they had potential to become by going to visit them, inspiring them, talking about their technique, asking them everything about it, having discussions about it, asking about the materials, making suggestions. You know, he helped many, many artists, and he paid them buying their work. And this is the inspiration Michael was to me as well. You know?
It's amazing. So I'm really inspired about what you said about Michael Jackson, and that is definitely not the only thing that inspires me about you. There's something else that you've been doing recently, and I know I'm skipping a lot of steps in your journey, but this is something that really interests me. And so recently you've moved to Newtown, to Sint-Truiden. And in Sint-Truiden there is VZW, so there's an organization which basically takes people, if I understand it well, from all over the world, and they want to help people with tinnitus. I don't know how to say it in English.
Tinnitus.
Tinnitus?
Yeah, tinnitus.
It's same thing. Okay.
Yeah. But not only that. Yeah.
Okay. It's, feel free to tell me everything about it.
Well, yeah, I'm not a therapist or a doctor in a medical sense.
Yes, but tell us what you're doing. Tell us what you're doing there.
I'm working as a chef technique, so as an audio engineer at a institute where they have developed therapy. It's called psychophonological therapy. It's actually therapy used to stimulate the brain. Many different cases. Example, you gave tinnitus, or Asperger syndrome, or people with development deficits as kids already.
Oh, I honestly didn't know there was more aspects to it.
Yeah, the tinnitus is just a very small aspect of the of the things being treated there. I have no view on the medical side of this therapy. So let it be an inspiration, yeah. Moving there, I was somehow losing some customers from the area of Brussels. And so I had to be creative and, look for opportunities. And I walked around and saw this institute for psychophonological therapy. And I thought, So I looked it up and I saw some interesting lecture papers actually online from this person who runs the institute. And I had some questions about it, like honest, sincere questions about their therapy and how it works, and maybe some thoughts about it as well. And I put them on paper, and this gentleman, older man, very respectable man, founder of this institute, invited me for a coffee, let's say. And we ended up talking for 4 hours.
But can you take us back for a minute? So you said you wrote a paper, but I think you can explain it with a little bit more context.
I read his papers. I had some opinions about it, and I expressed my opinions in a nice letter.
So you sent him a mail or a letter, an actual letter?
A letter by mail.
Really?
Yeah.
You sent an old school letter? Okay.
Yeah, well, no, an email.
Okay.
Sorry.
I know the letter sounded more romantic.
No. Yeah. Sorry. So I sent him the letter, the email, and he invited me and we had this conversation, and then later on I invited him at my place. I showed him some of my recordings of orchestras I did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I played them to him in Dolby Atmos.
Yeah, so that's surround sound.
Yeah, that's the 3D
Okay.
sound. And and we've been talking about technical side of the therapy and his needs in the center. And then he asked me to develop something new for him for running the center. So instead of having the old way of work would be having a source and then a line where you could plug into per source for clients to listen to and have the therapy. Now we put an entire network there.
Can I just pick into it, because I remember when you were doing the explanation to me before, I was a little bit confused of how it worked, and then you showed me some plans of the actual place. So it's a huge ass building, and there's many different rooms, and there's a lot of people coming in, and basically there's headphones, and this is the medium, the way that people receive therapy. They put it on their heads like this, and they get to hear certain sounds. And so when you plug in the headphone, there is a program which sends.
I will explain. Yeah. Although I'm not a doctor and I'm not authorized to explain these things, I could. Yeah. So basically, what they do is, for example, we hear in two ways. We hear with our ears, but we also hear through the body, the skeleton. Yeah?
Okay.
And prenatally, so before birth, babies tend to hear, for example, the mother's voice even before they are born. Mm-hmm. When they are in full fertile development, they start picking up at a certain point. I don't know the exact date, but from a certain point, they start picking up through bone conduction, okay, a certain range of the frequencies that is just a part of the entire spectrum. Yeah?
Okay.
So what they do in one of the therapies for children with a delay in development, motorical, for example, you have the left side and the right side of the brain, which is cross-wired, like this, cross-wired with the left ear and the right ear as well. Mm-hmm. So accessing the ears, they could access the left and the right side of the brain, and accessing the skeleton conduction, the bone conduction, yeah.
Okay.
They could have an impact on the motorical development. That's the claim.
It's like a hack.
Well, it's a hack. It's a stimulation. It's like an exercise of the muscle. To have the muscles exercise. Yes. It's something like that. They exercise the brain, which is also a muscle somehow. Yeah.
Agreed.
So this movement of action, interaction, rest, action, rest, and this contraction is actually stimulating neurological pathways. That's how it could be described.
Okay.
And this is applicable in resetting some forms of psychological tinnitus. Not a physical one, but a psychological one is treatable like that. Sort of resetting I can explain more, but it's maybe it's not interesting.
No, it's definitely interesting, but I think that the better you can summarize how it functions, the easier it will be to understand for non-technical people, including me.
So in general, it's just different kinds of music and audio being played, so to reset your brain in some way. Yeah, and it's been proven helpful to many people, and therefore there is a hotel in Sint-Truiden called Atlantis VZW. It's a non-profit, and they have for people with different kind of issues. You can find it on their website. They have possible treatments. I'm not saying solutions, but sometimes people are helped with that, and in this degree actually that people come from all around the world. Mm-hmm. From neighboring countries from Belgium till the other side of the world, people come here to receive the therapy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's a day center and a hotel. You could stay there, have the therapy at night now as well, because I deployed the system. I designed it actually. the panels for the room. It's all my design. So they have a headset with the control of the air conduction and the bone conduction. And they can have night therapy now in the room.
So I want to create a mental or visual picture of how it functions. And we were talking about the fact that you can, not every person has the same condition, right? So we're talking about personalized programs or sets of sounds,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, I'm not a therapist, so I don't know
Sure,
all the details.
but you have to. So you have different rooms, different people, and you have the different programs, and you have different same headsets, and you have the whole programming behind it. And can you explain to us exactly your role into it, because you kind of clarified it. You're not the expert in the actual philosophy of it, but what you are the expert in is the audio part. And the reason why the guy came over to your place and was interested in this random mail you sent to him has a huge impact on his center. And how the future of his center is looking like. And
the center is looking to a bright future now, because they have a network-based solution to route every source, which is the therapy for the specific client. That's the source. And now they can route every source to every destination in the entire center. And that's a practical solution which allowed them to be more flexible, to have more sources of income. So that's basically what it's about to them, to be, more helpful to people, to be able to offer more services and therapy.
Be more efficient. Also?
Be more efficient. And I could offer that to them because my background in, putting up these audio networks for broadcasting allowed me, with this perspective and knowledge, to implement it in their center. And instead of having a left-right stereo structure in a mixer, like we have in your mixer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did that today.
I just used this already known stereo format, network infrastructure or protocol, which already exists, and implemented all these known things and combined it with my own design of hardware. To deploy something new, basically. And in my system, the left is the air conduction, the right is the bone conduction, and then locally in the room, we split it out to left and right, so they have control of the balance in between left and right, and have control of the balance of the bone conductor.
Yeah.
So they have full control locally, and the system allows me or the therapeutes to route it everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's the system that I put in place. It's not rocket science. But the inspirational thing about it is that I didn't have that job.
You created it.
You
created your job.
I created the job just with imagination. I challenged myself because I knew it was possible, but I didn't know if the scale I was thinking and all the designs that were needed were going to be possible or not. But the only thing that made it work out is my intuition.
Was it your gut?
The only thing that really made it work out in the end is the intuition I had in the end. I had the gut feeling to feel that I would perfectly be able to manage this because of the experience I had in the past. And I relied on technology which already existed, which I also took in my experience in the past. And to trust, on good equipment, to trust on the right people around you, to trust in your gut feeling, and also in the success of others, because usually you become only successful by making others successful.
I like that.
So to trust is very important, and sometimes you have to give some hands, and we say, you can give a hand and take an arm, Some people do that.
But some don't.
Some don't. And even some do that and it's fine. Because this will be part of your success. Allee,
No, I understand completely. I really wanna continue talking about that, but I wanted to say one more thing about what you did there. And that's something that really inspired me, is that we live in times where you can have a 3D printer and print shit. So you can make objects yourself with some kind of built up knowledge, like maybe you can name it an API or something, You can create objects that can solve problems. And in the context of what you're doing, you created a box, actually multiple boxes. And so I want to talk about that part of your system because I find it really interesting. You didn't only make sure that the therapists had access to the right therapy for the right person, but you also created a physical box. You engineered a physical object to do that. And I for the life of me can't understand how someone can do that. But can you explain a little bit more about this box?
It's not rocket science.
I believe you. But
it's all existing things, and I just combined existing things.
Isn't that the idea of an API though?
Yeah, probably.
Right? You're using existing knowledge and you're implementing in order to create something to your liking. You're just using pre-existing knowledge. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you create a physical interface by combining hardware and software protocols to create, a physical setup for people to work with.
Right, but you know something about programming also on top, or so you started this project and you didn't know anything about programming, but you made a box.
I'm not a programmer,
but you made it. So how did you manage? Did you using some people who had the knowledge?
Using open source knowledge, combining existing things, throwing stuff together in the box, and then make it work, and then.
But how many did you make of these boxes?
What do you mean? How many?
You made so many. Like you actually had to create a team, if I understand it right.
Yeah, I had 2 people building them.
Okay.
Yeah, for almost half a year basically. I think we've made 150, something like that.
How many people are actually working for you in this project?
2.
2 people.
Yeah, but there's also subcontractors.
Okay.
Who helped put on the fiber network. Because it was 2 buildings being connected. But
you were the one who decided.
I designed it.
You designed it, and then you said, okay, we need these people, and then they came on board because you said.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting, especially considering of how it started.
Yeah, it really wasn't rocket science. But it's just be creative, So if it's like Meccano.
Yeah, okay.
You have all the existing building blocks.
Yeah.
And then we say, okay, what are we gonna build with that?
But you decide.
I saw these people in the need of a solution, and I figured I could provide them with the solution.
Yeah.
Just being creative with the pieces and the blocks I knew, and it worked perfectly well.
That's amazing, man.
And I encourage everyone to just pursue their dreams and to think in steps. And if there is a big problem and by intuition you can solve it, if you have a dream, it's like one big problem, because therefore it's a dream. You know? You have this unreachable goal, so it's a problem, yeah?
Yeah.
How do you get there? Just subdivide every step, even if you don't know the steps. Just go into that direction. Even if it's a bit out of direction, it's towards that side of the axis, Yeah. So go there, just go. And every step you will get closer and stay true to yourself and find common-minded people or like-minded people. And you will lift each other, And yeah, I find that in you as well, you lift me and I lift you, and we carry each other throughout all life and experiences and work. And
Thank you for that.
thank you for having me.
It was a great pleasure. I think I know you and not that well, but I know we can continue talking for hours. But you have managed to finish the podcast in a beautiful way. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I don't know if I'm going to do this. It's just between us. I don't know if I'm going to do this, but like I follow this podcast, The Diary of a CEO. And what he always does, and I'm going to copy it because I don't have a better idea, but I'm going to copy it. And what he does is like he always wants to leave a question behind for the next person.
So you have a question for me?
No. So you are the first one.
Okay.
Because I didn't do it with Marco. But so, do you have a question for the next person who comes to sit here? It can be anything. And I will ask him at the end of the interview the question. And then he will answer it. And then he will give me the question for the next one.
Okay, I have one.
Go for it.
What would you like to be remembered for?
Okay, that's clear. Thank you. Thank you so much.